Jamestown, located in Virginia, was one of the first places that Englishmen colonized when arriving in America. Virginia became home to tobacco farming, which called for harsh and strenuous labor that the Englishmen did not want to partake in themselves. This was the main reason for the need of indentured servants or workers in the Virginia colony. Individuals were brought to America either voluntarily or forced to become indentured servants who worked on the tobacco plantations. Indentured servants would sign contracts with their masters that would bind them together for a set amount of time, usually based on the servant's age. Indentured servants would give up their freedom and fall under the control of their masters once they signed these contracts. They had to do what was told of them, they were not able to marry unless their master allowed it, and they had to work under harsh conditions. There are many reasons as to why people would become indentured servants. One reason individuals became indentured servants was to work off the debts or expenses that they had. Another reason individuals would sign contracts to become indentured servants was to travel to America with the hopes to find economic and social opportunities once they had acquired their freedom. Although signing these contracts meant that they were signing over their freedom, these indentured servants in Virginia were accorded a number of rights. Indentured servants in Virginia were accorded rights to soften the harsh treatment of their masters. There were many rights that were given to indentured servants, with one being the right to have their complaints be heard by the courts. Another right was that they needed to be provided with good diet, clothing, and sleeping area by their masters. Indentured servants were allowed to be transferred to another master if their current one treated them poorly and made them work when they were sick. Any money or goods that were given to the servants were theirs and belonged to them entirely. Once an indentured servant was given their freedom, it was their right to be entitled to receive resources and goods as well as their liberty and privileges. These rights gave indentured servants the ability to stand up against the brutality that they faced from their plantation owners. Another law that was created was the recording of indentured servants' ages to ensure that their masters were unable to keep the servants longer than they were supposed to. It was common for plantation owners to attempt to manipulate the contracts to be able to keep their indentured servants for longer than what was written in their contracts. Another important right given to the indentured servants was the freedom dues. Freedom dues were a form of payment to the servants that were given to them for their work and accomplishments once they were free. These dues were mostly in the form of clothes, corn, and sometimes even land. Freedom dues had the intention of helping newly freed servants start their new roles in society and provide them with the opportunity to support themselves. This would often lead to competition between plantation owners and newly freed indentured servants. Indentured servants were accorded rights in the Virginia colony, but that was due to the harsh conditions and difficulties that they faced while serving their time. Tobacco cultivation was not an easy task. It involved many long hours and days spent working alone on plantations, with very little to no time for rest or relaxation, and bodies that were physically exhausted. Indentured servants were mentally and physically strained and weakened from spending so much time alone along with the harsh conditions. The way the masters would treat the indentured servants also created a difficult and negative environment. Plantation owners would often overwork their servants as well as brutally beat them. These plantation owners would also sexually abuse women. They paid little attention to the health of their indentured servants, with many of them dying before completing their full time as servants due to poor health and diseases. These conditions pushed many indentured servants to flee and run away from the plantations and their owners. Indentured servants were accorded rights to avoid and help ease the harsh conditions that they endured during the time of serving their masters.